Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of the Scratch the Track podcast presented by the Dude and Grim Show. I am the Dude.
And I'm Grim, and today we are going to kick things off for the new year, for 2021, the new year, talking about the Beatles' self-titled 1968 release, commonly referred to as the White Album.
Yes.
This is a big one. As I mentioned, we started off the show with the Beatles because why wouldn't you? I mean, it only fits that you'd start with the best band that there's ever been or will be. And so we're starting off this year because they just have a really great catalog of things to choose from. And we thought, we haven't done a double album yet. It's the first double album.
I know, it's big. Oh, man.
So, and I'll talk about that because with two albums, I think, dude, you should kind of fill us in on just to kind of get a little recap because, we've been going for a while on what Scratch a Track is and means, because with a double album, it can mean something a little different. So,
two for you because one won't do.
Without further ado.
Okay. Well, yes, for some of those people who may be new here, the first and foremost, we would love it if you like, subscribe, and comment below to our channel, because that really helps us out and it shows us, a little love, especially we're starting off the new year. Need 2021 to get off to a good start.
I mean, 2020 was a real kick in the nuts, so to speak.
It was not fun. So, but it got us to start this, so that's cool. Anyways, so what we do here at Scratch a Track is we pick albums, usually some of our favorite albums, and we kind of go through, we talk a little bit about the album, some of the recording process, then we go through track by track and discuss each track a little bit in depth if we know things in depth, and ultimately we decide what song we would scratch off the album. Now that doesn't mean that we don't like the song, so don't get crazy on us for that. It just means that, sometimes when you had a record or a CD, it got scratched and you didn't get to choose.
Help it. Yeah.
You didn't get to choose. Like, you brought him to the beach, sand got in there. You didn't get to choose what track got scratched.
But what this book presupposes is, what if you did?
Exactly. Yes. I mean, maybe Custer did not die at the Battle of Little Big
Yeah.
Horn. I don't know.
So this is a game that we just started kind of playing as we would talk about music, and the question always became, what's your scratch?
Exactly. So with this album, a double album, we have decided that we are going to scratch one song on each disc. If we both select the same song, then we go into overtime. We're talking Islanders Capitals.
Yeah.
Hockey, anyways. And so that's kind of how the game is played. Now, one thing that we did want to do with this album, and we'll get into this a little bit, a lot of people thought maybe it should have just been made into one album instead of two albums. Maybe there's some songs that could have been B-sides, might have been extras, weren't
and George Martin himself, the producer, says that in the anthology. And that was I guess, growing up, like, I never really bought a bunch of books and read too much in depth about it. But when I heard him say that, it does make you think, because obviously, with an album of this magnitude, everyone has their favorites, and I don't, what are you going to say? We would encourage people to, if it was down to one album, or if you're on the side of the fence that says this should be one really good album, we would love to see your track listing of what that album looks like.
Yeah, I haven't gone through and made that myself, but
I don't know if I can.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, let us know your scratches on each side. But if you were to take all the tracks on both discs and put them down to one album, we're saying, 24, 25 minutes on each side?
Yeah, side four is like 24 and a half minutes, so we'll be nice and say 25. You could squeeze another 30 seconds of the run-out groove or something.
Yeah, so let us know what your track listing would be.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I think we kind of got into all of that, Grim, and we've kind of laid out the ground rules for this game and the fun time we're about to have. Now, this is just a little background historical. This is their 9th studio album, which they really evolved. One thing I looked up, man, is the ages of these guys when this was created.
Oh, I don't even want to hear it.
Dude.
26, 27.
Dude. John and Ringo were 28. Paul's 26. George was 25. I mean, dude, and they wrote the White Album. Like, wow.
Yeah. Most people would be lucky if they could do that at some point in their life, and these guys did it, before they were 30. So
for shits and gigs.
Yeah. I mean, that ain't legal either. But
no,
I think it should be okay. So before we get into charting and everything, just this record. This album is in very stark contrast to what had been released last, which was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Very colorful, an incredibly ornate cover, and production to match that. Right? It was very. I don't know. Some people described it as LSD influenced. I just think it was to me, it's more pushing the boundaries of what could be done in a recording studio. And
absolutely.
But this album, it's interesting to me because it's not that. So you get this stark white album that just simply says The Beatles.
The Beatles.
The version I have is of probably the second release where it's written or it's printed on there in gray ink. But the original release and then the re-release, which I believe you, Deuterino, has, it's actually embossed. So you just kind of feel it.
It is. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Yeah. And this one is the remastered one, which I've listened to a few times. And I believe George Martin's son, it's remastered, and he did a slight remix as well. Now, I think we need to say that the one we are going to be scratching, because there was mono versions released of this, there was stereo versions. We are doing the original CD stereo mix that we grew up with. That's the mix that we're doing. No remasters, no remixes, anything of that nature.
And it's cool because I guess not having looked through all the other ones, I mean, this came with, this big fold out poster, which had a lot of candid photography that's pretty cool. But it also had all the lyrics in the back of it, which I think is cool, especially for fans. Not that their lyrics are unintelligible, but it's cool to have. And then it also came with these 4 8x10 photographs of the 4 of them, which was just kind of cool. And I remember this. I mean, I'd grown up with the Beatles. They were my favorite band as a young child, their early stuff. But, when I got to high school age and my dad would allow me to use the record player, because we had a very nice record player, which thank you, Dad, for the records and the record player, which I love and use now on a daily basis. This, for some reason, was just one of the first records that I used to listen to on my own. And it made me rediscover the Beatles, I think, at a young age, so much so that I decided I should burn a CD of the White Album for all my closest friends, because I'm you need to know about this. This is really good.
You did.
Unfortunately, I didn't know at that point, this was early in the CD burning period, the difference between a CDR and a CDRW. So some of the CDs may have been on an RW and just didn't work.
Was it a plus? Was it a minus? It was very complicated
Dude,
back then.
We figured it out though. And
yeah.
So
I bet I have that. I bet I still have that somewhere. I mean, dude, you did a good job. It's not like you just burned the CDs, put it in a sleeve, and handed it. You recreated the packaging and everything. It was
I was that adamant that this was that good, and and I'm sure you'll talk more, dude, about the critical reception and charting and stuff. I mean, I wasn't the only one who thought this was good. Oh, you're going to gloss over?
Yeah.
Well, dude, kind of gloss over that.
Here's the thing. It's the Beatles' White Album, and it's great. Dude, it's the best selling double album of all time. Oh. It is pretty, it's well regarded. I know a lot of people, it might be their most critiqued album of all time, though. I
can see that.
Where people would have mixed feelings about it and some of the tracks, and we'll kind of get into that as we talk about the tracks. And that kind of goes to, could it be trimmed down to one album? Because there's a lot of songs on this, and even George Harrison talks about that too. He's like, there's a lot of songs that maybe could have been made as B-sides. And even George Martin said, it could have been done as one album. Everybody else wanted it as two. But, one thing that George Harrison said, he was like, there's a lot of ego in the band. And what do you do when you have all these songs? Like, you got to put this stuff out. And Grim, there were some songs that were left off that we're kind of fans of. I don't know if you want to talk about that now.
Yeah, I kind of do. And thank goodness in most cases for these, for the release of in probably the 90s of the Beatles anthologies, the anthology series, because on anthology number 3, disc 1 is pretty much like White Album era stuff.
Tracks.
And most notably, there's a song by Harrison that's called Not Guilty, which I think is about, there was this whole big thing when they went to India, where he thought that the yogi Maharishi or whatever had like inappropriately made advances towards some of the women that had come there with the whole Beatles entourage. And apparently a lot of people said that those accusations by John Lennon were not true, but he believed it so much so that he wrote the song Sexy Sadie about that on the album. So George Harrison, I think, in response, wrote this song, I believe, Not Guilty, which kind of is about that. And I had the anthologies. I mean, why wouldn't you? And I think, if there was a song, you could have easily swapped that out for Revolution number 9. Not giving away anything, but I'm just saying it was a good song.
Could have fit like 3 songs in there.
What's the New Mary Jane, which was a John Lennon song. It was all right, but
Junk.
I thought Junk was good. And apparently, Lennon had wrote during that time, I think in India, he also wrote Mean Mr. Mustard, which ended up appearing on Abbey Road.
Yeah, Mean Mr. Mustard and Polythene Pam as well. Now, one thing that they did, so they were in India. That's where they wrote a lot of these songs, a lot of these tracks. And the really cool thing is they came back and it's what's called the Escher demos. And they went to George Harrison's studio at his home in Escher and recorded basically acoustic versions of like the majority of the songs that are on the White Album. Mean Mr. Mustard, Polythene Pam, Junk, Sour Milk Sea, a bunch of those songs they recorded. And if you have the kind of super deluxe version, which you can download now, I'm sure you can get on Spotify. I have it on Apple Music. You can get all 27 tracks that were recorded in the Escher demo and their acoustic. And and let me tell you, the quality is exceptional because they multi-tracked some of them. They overdubbed some stuff on some of the tracks. But the majority of it's just pretty much, I believe it's all acoustic. But it sounds really, really good. So if you're a Beatles fan, you haven't checked that out, highly recommend checking out the Escher demos.
And I think another thing just quickly to note about that is a lot of, I think the fact that a lot of this stuff was just done on an acoustic is from my reading. So they go to India. An acoustic guitar was all they had access to during this period they were there. There weren't pianos. I mean, I'm sure Harrison could have got his hands on plenty of sitars and other instruments, but all they had from like the Western music perspective was an acoustic guitar. So I feel like that kind of does, even though a lot of the music on the White Album, I think it's interesting because it was like, I read a quote where John Lennon said he just wanted to make a raunchy kind of a rock album. And that definitely shows through, but so do like all these other styles of music, but it is predominantly based around like acoustic guitar. Even if the final song didn't come out that way, it's a lot of guitar driven writing, or at least it seems to be. I would say. It
is. And that's why during these like Escher demos, so many of the songs that end up in the demos end up on the album. That's how they were kind of spawned from the beginning. And And so they recorded the demos, and then though, I mean, the thing is they were all kind of going in different directions. I think as people, I think they were growing up. I think musically they were growing up, and that really comes through on this album. And the band is very open about it, and it's from a listening perspective, it's very apparent as well. I mean, these guys had basically lived together and breathed the same air in the same room for like years and years of their lives, and finally they were kind of getting out and becoming adults. Like we said, I mean, dude, they're in their mid to late 20s, basically their mid 20s right now. I mean, that's they're kind of branching out as people and as musicians. And so many of these songs are more solo individual tracks, even though they're other people may play on the songs, contributions. It's less collaboration.
I read that only 16 of the 30 tracks that made the album contained all four members playing. And I don't even know if that necessarily means at the same time or just in general.
Just putting a track down.
Whether it's but and one thing is we're talking about them playing together and all this stuff. This is one thing that I think is amazing because they basically like booked the studio from like October or was it like May to they booked the thing for like 6 months or something, which
it was a while.
That's amazing just to be able to conceive of doing that.
How do you just build your own studio at that point?
I don't know. I don't know if that was
a thing.
If that was like a thing yet. And of course, I mean, hell, if anyone could have done it. But anyways, so they did. So they had all this time to just go in and do stuff. And of course, there's like irregular hours. And I think some of the things that they had done in the past may have contributed to the tension, mainly being that like in the past when they would record, it was like the band members only. And of course, John Lennon's newfound love of Yoko Ono, it seems like she was basically there all the time. And I guess because of that, some of the other guys even ended up bringing their wives or girlfriends in for various
into it as well
things. So that I'm sure that contributed to some tension. But I mean, they had all this time. So, for example, that song "Not Guilty" that we talked about.
Yeah.
That didn't make the album. They recorded 102 takes of that song. I don't know if there's been a song in my life that I've ever played 102 times. Like that's amazing, dude.
That's a lot. Well, and they talk about that in a lot of these tracks, or a lot of these songs. Like when I was doing some research and everything, like some of the parts they did have many takes. Some of them got up to the 80s and 90s, and in the anthologies, like on the discs, they have different, like, oh, here's take 7 of this song and take 15 of this song. And for me personally, I'm not overly interested in listening to that stuff. I like hearing I don't know, just the other versions. I would just rather listen to the one that's on the album, unless it's like a completely different take, like on the song, then I might be interested in it.
Yeah.
But that's just not my thing.
Well, one thing that's interesting is some of the songs on this album, and this was not the first time they did this. I'm sure they did it prior to this, but I know one example is Strawberry Fields. They spliced together at least 2 different takes of that song to make what we know as Strawberry Fields Forever. But I think Yer Blues, they talked about that, because Yer Blues, they were doing something, and dude, it blows my mind that when I research this stuff or read it, like they're talking about only using a 4-track recorder, a fucking 4-track. Like, dude, a 4-track is nothing now. Like, you can do that shit on your phone. It's amazing. And this was like the pinnacle of like and so they had like upgraded or something to an 8-track recorder. But I guess Yer Blues, it talks about that it was kind of edited in such a way where there was an abrupt cut, and then they just spliced in another take for the end, which you can kind of hear. And I love that.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting how they would like play with these totally different takes, and that's what it's kind of cool.
It was a different way of going about recording, because we've talked about Dylan, and Dylan used to do that too. I think he did that on Highway 61, and there's just multiple takes, and sometimes they'll use a certain part from one song, a certain part from another take, and they just put it together and it works. And it's pretty great.
Yeah, it is really cool. But anyways,
yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's kind of, I mean, I feel like without delving too much into other things, I mean, I think most of the other things we would get into would be within the constructs of the songs themselves.
Yeah, I think we should get into the tracks, because there are 2 discs. There are 30 tracks. So bear with us. But
so here we go, 1 minute per track. Go.
Let's go. Yeah, no.
All right, back in the USSR. Originally,
so yeah, side 1, disc 1, track
back
1.
in the USSR.
Back in the USSR. First of all, the song is cool, very different than anything I think I had heard them do when you listen to all their previous stuff. Very, very different in that sense. But I love the kind of story behind it, and
I do too, as being like kind of a parody of like Chuck Berry's song Back in the USA, and kind of done in the style of Beach Boys. I also really like too, and my guess is that the Beatles, I say this like I haven't listened to all their records hundreds of times, but I guess I don't think of them as being like one of these bands that incorporates like sounds and making soundscapes. But that was one thing I've always liked about this song, is that it like, he talks about basically being like jet lagged and beat up from traveling. And the thing starts out and ends with a freaking like a plane taking off and landing. And I think that's cool.
It is cool. I thought it was funny how, because Mike Love was in Rishikesh with them in India, and they had like played this song for him, and he's the one who kind of mentioned, he's like, you know what, you guys should mention about the girls in USSR, and so that's where that kind of those legs come from. And the funny thing is the Beatles were actually banned in the Soviet Union, so this song became a huge like underground hit there.
That's really cool. And I love how they incorporate all these things that are like carryovers. Like one thing that always strikes me is when he says, and Georgia's always on my mind.
Yeah. Like
obviously a call out to the song Georgia's on my mind, but Georgia, if I'm not mistaken, was also a state within the USSR. Which it's just a great tie-in, dude. Let me hear your balalaikas ringing out. Like, I really like how they kind of, it's almost like they're poking at like the USSR, but like in a very non-threatening kind of funny way.
Yeah, definitely they are. It's in a very Beatles way.
Yeah.
I think we should take a second to note that Ringo does not play drums on this song. There was a period of time in the recording of this album where he kind of felt like he just wasn't fitting in, and the other members were really kind of
I thought it was you three.
I thought it was you three.
You got to watch the anthology for that.
You do. And so he basically left for, I think it was like a couple of weeks. And so they actually, I don't know if it was all of it. I think it might just be Paul and it's a composite. It's the three of them all. They just basically put together a drum track for this song. And dude, I had no idea. I'd never, could have fooled me. Could have said it was Ringo, and I wouldn't have thought any different. But it should be noted that, definitely in this song, he's not playing the drums.
Neither is he in the second song.
And the second song, which is Dear Prudence.
Yep.
Which, let's talk about it. Dude, the story behind this one's freaking great too, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good. So they're in India, and Mia Farrow's sister, her name was Prudence Farrow. She, I guess, apparently had it sounded like, I don't want to say a bad, but an intense LSD trip at one point. And so she was into really getting into meditation and trying to find God and stuff is what I've kind of heard. And she basically was so focused on the meditation that she just wouldn't leave. She'd come out to eat and whatnot. She would do that. But basically she was in her little hut or her room like all day, just meditating. So Lennon wrote this song, and it's like, Dear Prudence, come out to play and look around and
stick around, hang out with us.
Yeah. Hang out with us. If that was Cooper. And it's just, it's a really cool song. Cause, and I guess John and I'm not sure if it was, maybe it was John and George, they would like play the song, like trying to get her to like come out and hang out. I thought that was,
and this was always one of my favorite songs on the album.
Dude, so good.
I like that it's kind of that intro. Well, I would assume the whole thing is, but the intro is kind of in drop D, and it kind of just starts with the D and C and descends. It's really pretty.
It is.
It's a pretty song.
And I guess from what I heard is that John Lennon learned like the finger picking techniques from Donovan, who was actually
I was there too.
In India with them.
Wow.
And one thing I noticed when I listened to it most recently, I listened to it in headphones, and I always find and again, some of them were stereo, some of them were mixed, mono and everything, but in their stereo mixes, I always find their stereo mixes really interesting. Like I think in this one, like it's like the guitar or one of the guitars is always in the right, and then the bass is always in the left, or they'll do something where the drums are always on one side.
Yeah.
I've never heard another band really do that before.
Yeah. It's almost like, to me, I don't know. I think of if I'm going to make something in stereo, I think of like symmetry and trying to keep it even. Balance, and that's one thing I've always loved about the Beatles stuff is they're like, fuck that. And we're going to put only drums in this speaker and everything else over here. Yeah. But when you hear it together, it sounds good every time. Yeah. I mean,
as long as you're listening to it like in stereo or
on a proper system. Yeah.
Dude, because I've been in like bars and restaurants.
Where you just get one speaker
up and it
sounds kind of weird. But yeah,
it does. But yeah, this is a great song. Definitely one of my favorites on the album. The background harmonies are, of course, it's the Beatles, so they're amazing. But the song really builds up, and it's great. It gets really full at the end. But
yeah.
All right, number
Glass
3.
Onion. Okay, so we talked about Ringo Starr's brief departure, and I believe that this was one of the ones where they recorded the backing track as a band. At least aside from like the strings and stuff, which were put in later, but it says that they recorded this as a full band.
Cool.
After he came back, and I do like how Lennon like calls out all these older Beatles songs. I think that's cool. And McCartney put in the recorder when he calls out the Fool on the Hill. Yeah.
Well, so here's the deal with that is like Lennon, he kind of put all those references and little things in there because he was kind of mocking the fans who had said that they found like all these hidden messages in the Beatles songs and stuff. So this is just like him just kind of playing with him and messing with him. So I just thought that's kind of interesting, but I never really knew that. Like obviously you pick up on the references. The Walrus was Paul. I told you about the Fool in the Hill, fixing a hole in the ocean.
Yeah.
Like those references. It's very cool. Especially if you're a Beatles fan, it makes a lot of sense, but it's kind of, just poking fun at everybody saying they found all these hidden messages and meaning and stuff like that. So
yeah, I do like that. And then you go to Obla Dee Blah Da.
Obla Dee Blah Da.
I like this song.
It's a very Paul song.
It is. And I didn't realize that it was kind of like a nod to like early ska music, which
either did I.
Like that's like early Bob Marley, like before, like that dance hall kind of ska almost before it was reggae. Right. Sure. And I guess I can kind of feel some of that in it, but I don't know. I read where Lennon referred to this as quote unquote granny music shit, but I like it. I mean, it's it's a song about like people who fell in love and found happiness. Like what's wrong with that?
It's very, and it's very not Beatles.
Yeah, but it's not totally like cheese dick. It's like fun. You know, like the way the music, it's fun.
Dude, it's really catchy, man. It is.
Yeah,
a catchy
it is.
Song.
That the bass line's great. And one thing, and this is getting real nerdy, but they do this a couple times in the album. But you know when they do those piano licks,
yes. Yeah.
The piano sounds in such a way, like they compress it so much where it has this unique sound. The way the piano sounds. The other one that comes to mind is Birthday, which we'll get into. But
we'll get to.
They just just compress the piano in such a way where it's almost like, I don't want to say a different instrument, but a different instrument in the way it, you know, it like, I don't know. It's hard to describe, but when you hear it, I just think if you really listen to how the piano comes across, it's very different than how the piano is normally presented as a recorded instrument.
Absolutely. It's very unique in this song. And I find with a lot of Paul's songs, especially this one, it's very full and very clean. He likes kind of like this clean sound where John really, he likes to get
except
a little
Helter
raw.
Skelter.
Well, except Helter Skelter. Yeah. Except that one. But John really likes the kind of like a more of a gritty, raw kind of sound, I feel like, in a lot of his songs when, you know, he gets into it. But
I like this because you have this song and it's whatever you want to call it, whether you like it or not. And then he goes into Wild Honey Pie.
Right.
And dude, I love this song. Like there's something about, so recently we did Pearl Jam's Vitalogy. This is like the Bugs of this album.
Sure.
It's like it's got
an eerie. Yeah.
I know, but it's nice because it's short. And it's just the thing that I like about it is, you know, you get those moments in your life where it's just like kind of like just fucking madness. Like your brain is in a loop that you got to get out of. This is that loop in its sonic form.
A constant loop.
Yeah, it's a constant loop. And so you hear it over and over.
Over and over. I think, you know, I like this song, and I guess it was, you know, it was kind of recorded at the end of Mother Nature's Son. So they like had recorded that, and then they just
started playing around,
came up with it. I mean, I like this song. You know, I think I'm glad that it's like 1 minute.
Yeah. Absolutely. He didn't feel the need to make a Revolution 9.
No, he did not. But it does, like, the guitar has this eerie sound, and dude, they sound like, no offense to anyone out there listening, but it sounds like a group of old grannies like singing. Like that's what the voices sound like. And but the cool little thing, dude, I know you love this at the end, the little Spanish guitar outro.
Dude, now here's the thing. Sweet? I for so much of my life thought to myself, which one of them was proficient enough at guitar to play that? Truth is, none of them. What that is a fucking pre-recorded loop on the Mellotron. So if if you have the Mellotron, so you have like the flutes, which is like the intro for Strawberry Fields and the strings and all this stuff. But if you really like had the whole Mellotron tape library, because that's what this thing is. It's these like tapes that you put into the fucking machine and it plays back the samples, right? That loop, they have several loops, and I'm sure on other albums that we do, we'll get into this, but that particular loop is one of the things in the librry. Wow. So that's none of them playing that. That's actually crazy. Just somebody hit the button on the Mellotron, and that's that.
I like it.
I know. That like blew my mind, because as a kid, I remember listening to this, like I said, as a kid, and I'm like, damn, that's so weird. Like none of them like strike me as that type of guitarist. Like, who's playing that?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I guess I probably would have figured it would have been George, but that's just.
I know. I would have thought so too. Dude, if I was a better person, which I'm not, I would have actually dug in and figured out who played the guitar for the Mellotron tape library. But I'm not that good of a person.
Maybe somebody out there. Maybe somebody out there is better.
Tell me, because I'd love to know.
You know, post down below.
Oh yeah.
Yes. All right, moving on.
Bungalow Bill,
dude. The continuing story. So
yeah.
I mean, it sounds like this is like a sequel almost. Like what's the first part? Dude, this one has a trippy story, and it's I mean, first of all, the song itself is a story, but the kind of character it's about is when they were in India, and this woman was there, and I guess her son came over from the United States, and he was like this clean cut college kid or something like that, and he was there, and I don't think he was there just to visit her. I think he was there to meditate and do everything that they were doing as well. But then they left for a week to go hunt tigers. I mean, dude, that's typically what I do after I get done meditating. I go out and club baby seals. So,
yeah, dude, beat up some homeless people for sure.
I mean, what? That's so weird, dude. And so
it is an awkward day. Yeah.
Dude, John was like, man, fuck this dude. All right. And so he wrote this song basically about him and just like poking at him. So I just think that's an awesome
I
story.
do too. And I didn't know that because, and of course you read it in hindsight's 2020 and it makes sense, but it's one of those things where as you listen to the song without the context of that story and you're like, how did you come up with this song? Like it's easily like in my top 5 of the album. No question.
Oh, wow.
It's an awesome dude. I love this song. It's like a song that I've loved actually like playing and singing, if you're at a campfire or something throughout the years, one of my favorites, but I could never figure out how in the hell he ever came up with it until I did my homework.
Well, and again, it's such a original, unique song idea for a song. This is like, when I think about the Beatles' White Album, it's a weird album. Like
it is.
when you compare it to all their other stuff and all their other material, there's just some strange songs on it. And this is, I love this one, but this is not atypical of what you would expect from maybe, like if I would gone and picked up the White Album, like the day it came out and put this on, I'd be like, what is going on here? Like, it's
but it's awesome. I mean, it's such
love
a good
it,
song.
dude. Then we get into, is this George's first song on the album? I believe it is. Okay. So While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Wow. I mean, talk about a home run.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. They talk about he first recorded it as an acoustic demo, and I've heard that version and I like it, but man, the way they did it is really nice. And dude, I mean, if you don't know this, again, I'm sorry, because you should know this, but dude, Clapton's guitar work on it is just phenomenal. And one thing that I really, I kind of wanted to set this up to show you or to show the audience, but in the interest of time, this being a double album, I did not do that. But one thing that I like in this song is there's this eerie, very, very like an eeriness about it. And if you listen to it, it almost sounds like this whistling, like this high pitched kind of whistling with these kind of awkward harmonies over the top of it, which is done with the Hammond organ. Okay. But the way that they pull the drawbars and they get the setting, I mean, it just sounds like these really the whistles add tension in the song that I think is really cool.
It is. I mean, you talked about Clapton's playing on it, which is amazing, of course. And they had tried recording this song like a few times, and George Harrison was just never happy with it. And so he brought in Clapton to just kind of like do those little solo licks and parts and everything, and he just nails it. I would highly recommend checking out the Escher demo of this song, because I believe that it's played. George Harrison actually plays it with a mandolin.
Cool.
Yeah, so I would definitely check that version out, and it's cool because I like the original acoustic version that you talked about, like the original one, and then there's the Escher one where he's playing mandolin, and I think they double tracked it, so I think there's an acoustic guitar behind it as well.
Oh, that's cool.
And I think they even doubled the vocals, and then there's this version, and I'm just like, dude, I like, dude, pick whatever 3 versions. I like all of them. They're pretty amazing.
Well, I like that Clapton also gave Harrison the guitar that he used to play it, which he named Lucy, which is my sweetheart daughter's name.
Oh, and she is getting in trouble or in the sky with diamonds, or she's asleep. Hopefully she's asleep.
She's asleep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's round out side 1. I guess, dude, it's an okay song, right? I mean,
yeah, only one of the best.
Is this your favorite Beatles song?
No.
She's So Heavy?
Maybe. I don't know. Dude, this is up there. This is a top 5 on this album. Probably a top 5 Beatles song. But yeah, I really love this. And again, they compiled fragments into a single song, which I feel like you can definitely hear. But the basic tracking took 95 takes, which holy shit, I can't even believe that. But I do understand the irregularity of like the time signature changes. But I mean, they were the Beatles.
Yeah, you could have gotten it in maybe 93.
Even 70. But yeah, I really like this song. It's so, I love the darkness of the beginning. Yes. And then how it ends in this, like, it sounds like old rock and roll. And it's kind of a classic old rock and roll chord progression that it's doing. But at the same time, they're talking about having a warm gun in your hand. And the dichotomy there is awesome.
It is sweet. So he got the title from the NRA magazine, American Rifleman. Yeah.
Oh my God, dude, that makes so much sense. Because I was going to say, like, this song must have been written for Americans because, I mean, dude, don't touch my guns. I mean,
but it's weird because I guess George Martin was the one who brought the magazine like into the studio, and John was looking through it and just kind of laughed at it. But it's also, so John Lennon also alluded to it kind of having double meaning. It's about guns, but it's also about his sexual desire for Yoko Ono, which they had just kind of started hot and heavy during this time. So, which here's the thing, if you listen to the demo too, and I'm glad that they took this out, the early demos, he sings during sections, Yoko, oh no, no, Yoko, oh yeah. And obviously they cut that out. But can you imagine if they had left that in? I'd be like,
fuck this song.
I would too. Like, anyways, we don't have to go to that dark place.
It didn't happen.
It's good. But
dude, I'd give it another 95 takes just to make sure that didn't happen. So thank God it only took 95.
Definitely. I know. But this is definitely one of my favorite songs, dude. Even it's funny because obviously we're Radiohead fans on here, but they've even stated that this song was heavily influential of Paranoid Android. Now,
I could see that
they loved the transitions and the different sections of the song, and it's pretty sweet.
Gonna bring up about this here, dude.
Okay.
I always thought that he said, I need to fix because I'm going down back to the bitch that I left uptown, but it's actually bits. Back to the bits that I left uptown. I always thought bitch would have been really great, but you know.
Oh well. It's probably what he wanted to say.
You know, I'll take that trade-off for not having the bullshit Yoko Ono part.
Exactly. That's fair.
So, all right, side 2. Wow.
2 of disc 1.
Humana. It's going to be a long season.
Oh, man. Okay.
Now we got to talk like the Micro Machine Man.
Yeah, we do. Okay. Martha, my dear. So this was written for, Paul wrote this for his about his old English sheepdog, I guess.
Well, I don't know.
Or just the title, is that.
Yeah, and it sounds like the rest of it. It just seems like a low song. I think, to me, the most notable thing about this is that the entire track is played just by him with session musicians, which makes sense because as you listen to it, it's mainly like brass and. But I guess I would have thought Ringo played the drums, but apparently not. It was just all session.
All Paul. But dude, this song has a good kind of upbeat, positive feel. Like, I mean, it's fine. It's a nice song. I dig it. You know, it might be one of those ones that does fall on in my book. Would it make the one disc? I don't know.
No, it wouldn't.
But,
not for me.
So
not for me. But I'll tell you what would is I'm so tired. Love this song. Dude,
I love how he just gets into it, man. He really, really does. Really belts it out.
Insane, you know. Yeah. I do like how he somehow makes this lyric or this reference to Walter Riley, because he like introduced tobacco to Europe. I don't.
It's like,
but I get it. Maybe because if he can't sleep, he probably just wants to smoke a cigarette. But for some reason, the line that always gets me is like, I wonder, should I get up and fix myself a drink? No.
Yeah, I know.
Because sometimes, I don't know how much they watched TV back then, but I've enjoyed just watching something on TV and having a drink in bed. Like, that's... And sometimes you wonder, should I get up and refresh this? I don't know.
More times than not, it's yes. But yeah. So this is one of those songs that people claimed if you played the track backwards, it said Paul is dead, man, miss him. But I've never played it backwards, so I can't speak to that. But
well, can I ask you? My question is,
okay,
how do you play it backwards then?
That's a good question. I don't know
because I have a reel-to-reel recorder in the direction that I'm pointing, which would have been available to people at the time. Yep. I have the vinyl record, and unless you have, the only time at one point I had a 4-track reel-to-reel recorder, and the way this worked was on each tape you have basically 2 grooves, or not grooves, but you have 2 like lines that you can have like a left and a right for stereo.
Yep.
And then you flip the tape over and you have the same thing on the other side. But the way that the 4-track reel-to-reel worked was that it recorded on 4 heads at once, so that you only had one side. So if you flipped it over, everything was backward.
Right.
But dude, I don't think that was readily available to people at the time because, I mean, fuck, dude, they were like doing shit on a 4-track in the best studios in the world at the time.
And that's the Beatles. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, I don't know how people like got that shit.
I don't know either. And
now you just put it in Pro Tools and go reverse, but
yeah, pretty much right click or
yeah.
It's I don't know, man. I don't know, but somebody was like, hey, I'm going to do drugs and I have time on my hands, so I'm going to figure this out. And they did.
Yeah, and somehow I can go backwards with shit. It's the fucking future, I guess. But
well, let's go forward.
Blackbird
to Blackbird, another kind of just Paul solo song. I mean, it is. And one thing I never noticed until it was pointed out was that you can hear the metronome clicking. I had never noticed that, and then I listened to it. I was like, oh, okay, that's it.
I don't think it is the metronome, dude, because when I was watching the anthology bit, and I don't know if this was the actual take, but he's tapping both of his feet as he's playing.
That's true.
And they even do write that.
Yeah.
Because he said Jeff Emmerich, the engineer, recalls capturing the sound via a microphone placed beside his shoes.
Yeah.
Which is very typical of old blues. In old blues, they would do that a lot. There'd just be the guy playing they'd record his foot tapping. But
all right.
Either way.
Well, then we move on to Piggies, which is, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's Blackbird. It's a Paul solo song.
And one thing I will say is the guitar part is really awesome. It's a really great guitar part.
Yeah, I mean, I used to I think I used to like this song a lot more when I first started listening to the Beatles. Now I'm like, oh, I mean, that's not to take away from the guitar part by any means, but it's just one that I was like, oh yeah, Blackbird, I love this song. And not to say that I don't love it now, but I think there's just other songs I prefer,
I know what you mean. And
so.
I do like the soundscape in there too, with the actual birds.
Yeah, definitely. Very cool.
But Piggies,
we move on. We go from the birds to the pigs. I love what this song is about. Just the greed, materialism of modern society. And, you know, again, this is, I think, George Harrison's second track on the album.
Now, we don't have any definitive evidence, but I believe that this is partially responsible for the inspiration for Animals, Pink Floyd's Animals, along with George Orwell's 1984.
84.
I have nothing to prove that, but I mean, come on, they had to. I was going to say,
is this close enough to do Pigs from songs of the same name? I don't know, Piggies. It's close. It's close. They're in this definitely.
What about Nine Inch Nails? Is that March? Oh, is that Piggy?
Piggy, and then March of the Pigs. We should just have a bacon album or a bacon.
Yeah, just with an asterisk, like songs of the same name, asterisk, close enough.
Yeah, exactly. So, but dude, I know what you love probably most about this song is the harpsichord, right?
I do like the harpsichord.
Okay.
And another thing, you get the pigs grunting, which is kind of cool. But the other thing I like is at the end, how it just like goes into this like strings out of nowhere. Yeah. And that's one thing I was going to mention is I think this may have been one of the first albums to do this when we were talking about the overall recording. But from what I read, it was customary at the time that like there was a 3-second gap between songs and they were like, nope, we're not doing it. And so they had all these weird little connective tissues, so to speak, like kind of parts.
And it is interesting because it's not a seamless record in the sense like Dark Side of the Moon is.
No, it isn't. It's abrupt and it's kind of weird, but it's awesome.
But there are basically no gaps. Like that's what's pretty trippy about it. Yeah. So I love just to wrap up this song, dude, the final lyrics of this song. Everywhere there's lots of piggies living piggy lives. You can see them out for dinner with their piggy wives, clothing, fork, and knives to eat their bacon, which is kind of funny.
Cannibalism.
Like, does that make them cannibals? Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Cannibal, eat your heart out. Or, well, I guess you would do that.
It's Raccoon.
Dude, I feel like this is Paul's Bungalow Bill. Like they're like these kind of funny little songs.
I agree with you. And you know, the thing that I can't believe is that like George Martin felt like this song was a filler. Most people would cite this as like one of their favorite ones on this album, I feel like.
It is.
It's a good song.
To be honest, actually, I'm not. I think part of me isn't surprised that George Martin says that because I feel like this isn't like a George Martin kind of song where he's like,
didn't he play piano on it too? I think he did.
I think George. Yeah, he did think it was filler, but I think you're right. I think he did play piano. He played something on it.
Again, I'm not to do a demo, but I feel like that's a tack piano on there too.
Could be. You know.
I mean, it just has that like old Western saloon kind of a sound, which would really go with the the song and the theme. But I don't know. I just like it because it's just a weird story, and I mean, the dude gets shot and he's laid out on a table, and then the doctor comes in and he smells like gin, stinking of gin,
right? Yeah,
I like that. It's funny.
I mean, it's just a fun. It is a fun song, and it's probably one of the earlier ones. Yes, George Martin played what they credit as the honky tonk piano. That's how they credit it. So yes,
yeah, same thing.
Just wanted to confirm that.
Good.
Yeah.
So don't pass me by.
I never would. Ringo's shining moment on disc 1.
I like this song. I think it's goofy and I like how they use the organ. The organ's kind of real chunky and weird, but they start out with those kind of like little licks and then it just gets kind of chunky. But I like it. It's just kind of, I don't know. It's just a goofy, fun song. And I think the bluegrass fiddle really makes it, honestly. That takes it to just a different, and it to me it ties in well at that point in the album with Rocky Raccoon because of that.
Okay. So that's a bluegrass fiddle? That's what that is? Because because it has this real just like jig feel to it.
Yeah,
like
like a jig. That's what I was thinking.
And so I guess this apparently was Ringo's like his first solo composition for the band, but they said he first played it for the band after he joined them in like 1962. So this one had been around for a while.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Number 7, Why Don't We Do It in the Road? I mean, I'll do it anywhere, but the road, okay, fine.
Yeah. Reading what I read about this, about seeing two, like McCartney apparently seeing
two monkeys. Fornicating.
I feel like somebody might have just put that in. Now, granted, I don't know. I haven't bought all the books and read in depth on every single song ever, but I guess I had always heard this portrayed as that was like a euphemism for protesting. Like, why don't we do it in the road? Like, I don't know.
I could see that. I remember you saying that a long time ago. So I always kind of thought that, but and then I thought about there's like the why don't we do it in the road? And he's like, no one will be watching us. But I'm like, okay. Well,
somebody will probably see you.
Especially this day and age with cell phones, man. Like, dude, that's gonna be on that'll be on Pornhub before you know it. Although they do have new guidelines for uploading, so it has to go through a whole process. And so I don't know.
Or on
I don't know.
Yeah, like the sub sharing site from TikTok called TikTok.
Oh God, does that exist?
No, I just like had one of those light bulb ideas, so maybe it should.
Dude, be careful; those get us in trouble sometimes.
Yeah, not today though.
Moving on, I Will, Paul McCartney, another classic Paul song. I feel like.
Yeah, it's just kind of a nice little love song. But, the interesting thing that I didn't realize is the whole bit of Can You Take Me Back Where I Came From that's at the end of Cry Baby Cry was actually recorded at the end of this song.
Right? It's pretty cool. I like that.
And that's I really like Cry Baby Cry, but I love that ending outro
Can
part.
You take me? Oh, it's so good. Well, one thing
that's its own song.
One thing that's cool about this, we go from Why Don't We Do It in the Road, which is Paul's song, and then you go to I Will. Like, one thing I think people don't maybe talk about is the way they're two very different songs. The way he sings, like Why Don't We Do It in the Road is real, like kind of raw and raspy and everything. Yep. And then he's singing all like nice and pleasant and smoothly in I Will. It's pretty cool that he, I guess it's ranged or maybe is what you'd call it, but he can sing differently in different ways. And he can do it very well. Then we wrap up
Julia
this side with Julia, which is written for his a tribute to his late mother.
Yep.
I've always liked this song. Just a calm, quiet, acoustic track. I feel like it's John's version almost of I Will. Like,
I was gonna say it's more like his version of Blackbird. Blackbird, it's just him on the acoustic. It's like a dark version of Blackbird.
Yeah, exactly. Which you would expect from John. You would expect that from John and that from Paul. So
the only Beatles song where he performs all by his lonesome
solo.
So they say.
All right, Graham. We're chugging through
number 2.
Record number 2. Well, they say it's her birthday, dude. This is funny because I feel like this song actually reminds me the way this song feels and kind of sounds. Reminds me a lot of the way they start the album with Back in the USSR.
I know. I agree with that.
It's kind of interesting.
I like it because, dude, prior to this, unless there's just a whole catalog of birthday songs I've never heard of, all you ever had was Happy Birthday, which is played out and boring as hell. But like, this is it's just kind of a fun song. And again, that piano in the middle, that's like so compressed, it almost sounds like something else. I've always really liked that.
Yeah, it's a good one. Moving on to Not My Blues, Yer Blues. Yer Blues, John.
Yer Blues, John. Which I was going to say, They talk here that the style of the song was kind of influenced by like the British blues kind of stuff. Like they cite Cream, Jimi Hendrix, Jeff Beck. They also cite Fleetwood Mac, which many people may not know, but dude, Fleetwood Mac's like early albums before like Christy McVie and Stevie Nicks, they were more like fucking Cream. Like
really?
Yeah, that's what they sounded like. They did not sound like fucking Landslide and all that other shit.
Yeah.
They did not.
Wow.
But the one thing they didn't mention was the Dirty Mac, which I think we should probably do a covers face-off at some point of the Dirty Mac versus the Beatles. So for those of you who don't know, you're going to have to look that one up. We don't have time.
Dude, the Dirty Mac, probably the best band.
It's a super group.
One of the first, dude, is that like the first super group?
I would say so, in the truest sense of the word. They're far more superior to any other one.
Look up the Dirty Mac. They played at the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus. They played this song. Check it out.
Crushed it.
It's awesome. All right,
crushed it.
Let's crush Mother Nature's son.
Yes,
which is quite a contrast to Yer Blues, going from this song into that. But
I know I've always really liked this. Like I have sang this to my kids when they were babies, and I would put them to sleep.
Sweet, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, this is more of a Paul song. He did it away from all the others. He was basically a solo song, but with George Martin, he scored all the brass arrangements.
Yeah.
Now, I kind of group this song, Blackbird, and I Will sort of together in Paul's group of this on this album.
I hear you.
I like this. I prefer this one over those.
Me too, because it almost has like some hint of darkness to it. I don't know how else to say that, but it's not like all like, happy-go-lucky like I Will.
Puppy dogs.
There's just like this bit of darkness to it. I can't. That's all I can say.
I'll have to listen to it
again. That's all our lawyers will permit me to say.
Yeah. I was going to say something just god awful, so I'm glad I did. I mean, because I do got something to hide. Everybody's got something to hide, except for me and my monkey. Yes. Which is kind of one of the things. This is one of the Maharishi's, I guess, sayings. He used to say that, except for me and my monkey. But I read. So, dude, maybe you can speak to this a little bit, that during the final mix they sped up the tape to 43 hertz instead of 50 hertz, which was a standard. I think I don't really know what that means.
No. I think what they did, and people have done this in the past too, is when they recorded it, they recorded everything at like powering the machine using 43 hertz, which is going to be naturally a little bit slower. So then when they did everything finalized, it goes up to 50 and it just kind of speeds the song up a little bit.
Interesting. Okay.
Because I think with a lot of those old tape machines, I don't know if it was like a variable voltage control or how they controlled it, but you could fuck with the speed. So you could basically record at a lower speed. So like I would, and if you played it back at that speed, I would sound to you now like I sound to you in any other time. But then if you put it up to 50, which is like the normal, which is like normally what the power grid would deliver.
Yeah.
Then it's faster.
Okay. All right.
So
I got it.
Yep.
Well, anyways, it's a good song. I dig it, man. It's got some, the intro is really cool, and then of course, like it's got this like the nasty guitar kind of kicks in, which I feel like is just it's like a John staple. He loves the nasty, raw kind of stuff. But there's a lot of different like guitar sounds and parts on this song. I was surprised the last time I heard it, there was just a lot of different mixes there. So,
and it definitely feels like one of those ones to me where they like cut things together.
Cut it.
So.
Sexy
so he
Sadie.
has that, and then Sexy Sadie. So he's basically like really giving the Maharishi the middle finger there. And
yeah, and I mean, he does say it in the lyrics pretty. He's like, sexy Sadie, what have you done? You made a fool of every one. Sexy Sadie, you broke the rules. You laid it down for all to see. I mean, it's pretty blatant. Although I never made the connection that he called Maharishi like sexy Sadie, but I guess
I had heard this at some point. I can't remember how or when I heard about this, but I had heard about this prior to doing the research for this particular episode.
Yeah, cool.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good one. I dig it.
Helter Skelter, man.
Oof, man.
It's like the first fucking metal song, if you ask me. I mean, it's like the advent of metal and punk kind of at once.
It's a weird song. Like it's so
awesome.
It's very jarring. Very jarring. And I guess when they first started recording it, they did it like as a really long jam. And then it was they just kind of put it aside because they're like, well, that's too long to, put on an album. But then they recorded like the shorter version of it. And the stereo version, we talked about the stereo and mono version, is actually very different.
Yeah.
Where they cut out where the in and out, they cut that out and you don't get to hear Ringo sing. I got blisters on my fingers, which I love to hear. But I think, unfortunately, this song got a lot of fame by Charles Manson.
Because he didn't realize that meant a fucking slide.
Which
dude, I actually
Charlie, listen to the first lines. When I get to the bottom, I go back to the top of the slide. Come on, Chuck.
Well, what's funny is, so my dad would travel for work as a kid, and so he'd bring me back stuff from where he would go to, and I had this book that they brought back to me from the UK, and it's one of these books. It's like the kids learn words. So as I'm reading this with Lucy as an adult, I'm looking and it's like pictures, airplane, fucking car, and then it shows like a store and it has all the words for things. And then they have a playground and they show like a big Helter Skelter slide. Dude, and that's what it's labeled as, is Helter Skelter.
Badass. That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know that until I started doing research on this. That's cool.
Well, and it does sound weird. Like I'll give Chuck that. I mean, it sounds weird. I don't know if it's like tattooing a swastika on your forehead weird, but it does kind of sound weird.
It was more of a phase.
Dude, for him, that phase took him through the end. I mean,
it did.
Yeah.
So then we go to the last.
It's not a tumor.
No, it's not a tumor. So then we go to the last song on this album, on this side of, which is Long, 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 which is, I think, Harrison's third contribution on this record so far. Yeah. And yeah, I guess he took the chord progression from a Dylan song, Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands. That's interesting. I mean, I know there were buddies, so maybe, he didn't really care. I mean, nowadays there'd be like a lawsuit, but I guess they were
one
cool.
thing I liked, and I had heard the story differently, but you hear at the end, you hear the big wind up of the Leslie speaker and the organ as he's because I guess McCartney's playing the organ on this, and the Leslie speaker winds up as it starts to spin, and you can hear like this shaking or this rattling. I had always heard it as like there was a tambourine or something that was left on top of the speaker that fell off, but apparently it was created by the end note. Because, dude, these I look back like you can see it, but I have a Leslie speaker down here, and I mean, dude, when those things start to go, it's like a 15-inch bass speaker, and it rattles the whole room. Dude, and so was this wine bottle on top of it that was just like shaking and resonating.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool.
Dude, it is. It's very cool. It is. It's very cool. So let's flip the side.
Revolution 1.
Side 4, Revolution 1. Now, this version is kind of the slower version. Yep. And then there's also kind of a more of a faster rock upbeat version. Which one do you prefer?
The faster, because dude, the fuzz is so. I mean, it's just straight fucking square waves on that fuzz. It's so nasty, dude.
It's pretty great.
This is a nice demo. This is a nice demo.
It is. It's. I feel like this is the alternative version. I would love to have started side 4 of this album like with that. That would have been pretty badass. And I just feel like a song about revolution. You want it to be a little more kind of like aggressive, right?
Dude, this is the fucking feel. Morning Bell on Amnesiac.
Oh, wow.
That's what this is.
Yeah. It is definitely the Amnesiac Morning Bell. You're right. 100%.
I'm just saying.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Then we move on to Honey Pie. Again, Paul, one of Paul's song, but I guess Lennon played the solo on it. So, Lennon played the solo on it and then later said that he hated the song. So
I could see why he would hate this song. Like, it's not one of my favorites. I think it's well done for what it's trying to do, being like a 1920s kind of
has this theatrical.
Yeah.
I get that.
And McCartney nailed that. And I actually do like the sentiment of the lyrics. I just think it's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's one of those songs where it's just like, does this make the cut? It's just one of those weird kind of different songs. Yeah, it
Wild Honey Pie would, but not Honey Pie.
Oh, okay, all right.
Well,
time for some Candy Grim. Savoy Truffle, Harrison. Such a good song, man, dude. I dig it, and it's kind of like he's paying tribute to Eric Clapton because they were like. Yeah, they were buds. Yeah. They were like really best friends. And I guess Clapton had like a sweet tooth and loved these chocolates or candies that came in. I don't know what it was.
Mixed like a mixed chocolate box. Life is like a box of chocolates.
You never know. Yeah, that.
You never know what you're gonna get unless you know which one is the Savoy Truffle. In which case, you eat that.
And dude, they're usually shaped differently, so I always pick out the ones that I know. And then you bite into one, and it's like some raspberry thing, and you're like, this sucks.
It's funny. I think that this song, although it may have been like written kind of about that, like at the beginning, there's like nods to another part. Like I've always enjoyed the line where he says, "I feel your taste every time we're apart." Like that's a good line.
That's cool. What do you think about the line where he says, "We all know, oh blah dee blah da."
I was gonna bring that up
fun,
too.
Dude.
I do kind of like that because it's a little bit of a call out, and I feel like, dude, he's entitled to make that call out because I feel like George Harrison's material was way overlooked.
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
Way overlooked.
Yeah, I agree. Well, why don't you cry about it? Cry baby cry. Yeah, I mean, what wasn't this the one? This was added. They were recording "I Will," and then I think Paul just like went into this.
This is a Lennon song.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, this is a Lennon song, and I guess the lyrics are like a tagline from an old commercial or something.
Oh shoot, I don't know why I have that, but anyways,
I've always really enjoyed this song.
Oh wait, no, it's the song at the end. It's the part at the end. That's what I meant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that part. Isn't it the "Can You Take Me Back Where I Came From"? Isn't that?
Yeah, which was really part of whatever
I will
talked about before.
That's what I was saying.
30 songs on here.
I know, it's a lot. But dude, Cry Baby Cry. Dude, it's a good one though, man. Dude, here's the thing. The piano in it sounds really, really good. I just kind of wish it was a little more prevalent and frontal in the mix. When I was listening to it last time, I was like, damn, I'd like to hear that a little more. It just sounded really good to me. So
yeah, I agree.
All right, now we get to the best song on the album, Revolution 9.
Fucking easily.
Yeah. This one's, I don't even know where to start. I mean,
I get what he was trying to do because there was this movement that they don't talk about it here, but I had taken some classes in electronic music, and it's like this music concrete kind of business, and they mentioned Karl Heinz Stockhausen. There's a lot of other composers that did this. That's just like making what you would call music out of mixing these sounds together. Dude, this would have been really cool as a fucking 30-second passage.
Yes, Exactly.
8 minutes. Is it 8 or 9 minutes? It's like knocking on the door.
8.
9 minutes.
8:13.
Oh, 8. Okay. That's like 7:45 too long.
It is. I totally agree. It would have been cool to have like this weird 30-second trippy little thing, but it goes on way too long. It just does. And I get being trippy and avant-garde and all that stuff. And it was probably more to appease Yoko. God, yeah. Because I mean, she's the one who kind of picked out the tape loops and told John like what ones to use and stuff like that. And, you know, she's saying like random phrases and, you know, I think we talked about this a little bit offline and we don't want to go on a tangent here at this point, but you know, it's like, oh, is this a song? Like what constitutes a song? Like,
it's a song, whether, I mean, you know, like think about it, dude, in that day and age, if someone had heard like dubstep, they would have been like, fuck, is this a song? What, you know? So, I mean, it's definitely a song or a piece of music, whether it's something that's really worthy of number one, the White Album, or number two, even being recorded, that's another story. But yeah, I just, I think it's really kind of a flaming hot turd in a bag. Not to give anything away, but.
Well, I find it interesting, dude, that, you know, John was so annoyed that people were like looking for messages in his song. So he writes Glass Onion, right? And then you put out a song like this, which kind of begs for people to really be like, oh, what's he trying to say here?
This is the apocalypse song. Manson was a fucking idiot.
He trying to do? It's like, I can just imagine like the people being like, hey, let's take some acid. Let's listen to this forwards, backwards, upside down, like, you know, like, I mean, and find some meaning to it. Like,
yeah, dude, this is the shit that cults are started from, is this song and like a lot of hallucinogenic drugs.
In a wild, wild country. All right. Last song on the album, on the disc, on the album, and very appropriate, Good Night. I thought this is cool that Lennon wrote the song. He wrote it for his son Julian, and he wanted Ringo to sing it. I like that. I think
I do too.
He was kind of like, you know, Ringo, hey buddy, here, I'm going to write this one for you.
But his voice is right for it. It
perfect
really
for it.
is.
The other members couldn't have pulled it off. They couldn't have.
No. Had to be Ringo.
Yeah, and it's just a great way to end the album. So, yes, we are running hot, Grim. That bag is burning.
All right, so let's get into it.
We got to get into it, folks. Disc one. What's your scratch? All right, am I going to go first on disc one?
Yeah, dude, you starting out the new year.
Okay, so my first one is going to be Obla Di Obla Da. And I scratched that one primarily because, I mean, I like it. It's a nice song, but especially at that part of the album, I usually want to get to like songs like Bungalow Bill, Why My Guitar
Wild
Gently
Honey
Weeps,
Pie.
and Happiness is a Warm Gun. Like I want to get to those ones. So I'm like, I'm good. So next.
Pretty much
that's
put Wild Honey Pie on repeat. Yeah.
Exactly. That one. Yeah. Honey Pie. Yes.
All right.
What do you got?
Why Don't We Do It in the Road?
Oh, wow, dude. Really interesting.
Yeah, dude, I like what McCartney does with his voice, but I mean, there's two fucking lines in the whole song. Like,
you know, it's really
if I had never heard that song, I'd be just as well off. And not that it's a bad song, but it is the most basic fucking 1-4-5 blues progression played on a piano with some mild guitar licks behind it. Again, I like what he does with his voice, but when you think of the caliber of the writing on the other songs, it just, to me, it doesn't hold up with the rest. So no OT on disc one. No OT on disc one. Well, disc two, we might as well just go into overtime because well, you go first. Dude, I was almost gonna do a disclaimer. Should we even have Revolution 9 on the table because it's the most obvious scratch Dude, I was listening to this record today with my wife and daughter, and dude, we could not make it through the song. At one point, I was just like, "This, I'm fucking tired of this. I just I can't do it anymore."
Yeah, yeah. Like
and it's so that's like,
let's go
over. Yeah, because I know you're scratching that. So let's say Revolution 9 is off the table. That the Beatles were like, hey, this song actually sucks. Let's put Not Guilty on the album instead, which would have been a better choice. Mm-hmm. What is your scratch now on disc 2?
Well, here's the thing. My scratch is actually, it's in a weird way, it's kind of tied to Revolution 9. And that is actually going to be Good Night, because there's a part of me that's just like, I could just end the album at Cry Baby Cry. And I typically do. Like, I'm just like, I don't even, like, it's almost like Revolution 9 isn't even worth me hitting skip.
Oh, yeah, dude. I'll just hit the button and lift the needle up. Like, dude, put on something else.
Yeah.
Well, shit, do we like double OT this then? Because that would have been minor. I don't know if we can. I think that the sensors are telling us that it's going to run too long.
Yes, they are. We're getting.
But if I had to pick a third, it's Honey Pie, no question.
Ooh, okay. I was going to go long. Okay.
Okay, so then it's settled.
It's over.
In Micro Machine Man speed.
Islanders win the series and the game. So, well, everyone.
But not the Stanley Cup that year.
No, not that year. They didn't. They won a lot in the 80s. Not that year.
Yeah. Anyways.
So, everyone, we hope that you enjoyed this episode. We realized, it was a long one, but this is a huge album.
Long, dude.
We thought about breaking it up into 2 episodes, but we drove through so we could give you more content. We really did it for you guys. We promise. So, please like and subscribe. This is going to be a big year for us. We're making strides.
Huge year.
We got a lot of cool things coming up, and we hope that you enjoy them. Give us some ideas. Let us know what you guys would scratch off these discs. Let us know if you had to make like one awesome white album, one disc. What would that be?
That's what I'd like to know. I think when we do this, I'll post mine because I would like to do that.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, maybe I'll do it too. All right, cool.
Neat.
All right, guys. Take care. It's time to go.
Hats off. We did it.
To Roy Harper, The Dude and Grim Show.
Yeah. Scratch a Track is produced by The Dude and Grim. Additional music provided by Moore and the Tims. Copyright 2021, The Dude and Grim Show.